through conversation, I think this comes up here and there. Well, actually, it depends on who you're talking to. It might come up more than it should. But the phrase that the bar has been lowered in rap, is that a hating phrase, or is that just your personal assessment as to things are? Because I don't necessarily see that as hate per se. It's more of just your personal opinion and how you assess how rap is at the moment. You guys see what I'm saying?
It's consumer driven. Consumers want the easy to listen to, kind of compared to like a nursery rhyme. So if I can memorize this hook and this song is in and out real quick, consumers digest the dumbed down version, so to speak, more so than they embrace the more lyrical part of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? I think that has a lot to do with it. But as far as overall, just mainstream wise, if we're talking about like underground and artists from that realm, no, I wouldn't say so. Just basically just mainstream.
So in the mainstream, you talking strictly mainstream
and consumers. That's what they want to hear.
Us being in the microwave era where everything is
a majority of consumers.
Got it.
Say that.
Got
Pop culture consumers.
I'm not mad at that. Jay Moore, talk to me, man. What's up with that in terms of the bar being lowered?
I think that's just some hate. I'll be honest.
You think that's hate?
I think it's definitely hate because, whenever you talk about commercial music, music that is given to the masses, is most easily digested. You can, if you're a certain age, you'll be like, oh, this was so good. This is so good. And it's just dumbed down. And like, I remember, if you'd have talked to Dennis Edwards and David Rufford at the time, it could have been, 1988 or whatever. They'd be like, man, they just don't sing about love anymore. I saw them.
I saw that interview.
They were singing about love and then giving women knuckle sandwiches.
I mean, we're not gonna get into all that. But what I'm
he
saying,
ain't lying though.
My whole thing is, at a certain point,
everything ain't hate, bro.
I know at a certain point, what is popular and mainstream just isn't for you anymore, and you can't be upset that you are out of that core demographic. It's like whenever like an award show comes on and you go on social media and someone will say, I just don't know any of these groups. This music is trash. It's not. You're 47 years old. This isn't for you anymore. I remember when Ari Spears, got his own problems, but like I do remember when he said this, he said, if you put Lil Uzi Vert and Young Thug and these people, but you put them up against Jay-Z, Nas, and Biggie, it would be like, the NBA playing the Special Olympics. And I'm like, yeah, but if you put them up against, there's some other people, if you took from this generation, they would be comparable. You don't know them as well. You just, you're just picking on these people that you think are whack because it's not your music. And once again, I'm never going to be that person. Look, I still work, like I said, in a situation where I'm around new music. And a lot of times, I'm working with my man, DJ Lockstar, shout out to him. And we're just back there laughing at how comical like some of this stuff is to us. And we're not laughing with them. We're laughing at them.
Right.
But we understand that like these are hit songs. This is what they want to hear.
Right.
But we realize it's not for us. It's not what we listen to in our spare time. And if we wanted to go in there and play, like, okay, we're going to go in here and play what we want to play for them, we'd have an empty club every week.
Got to make that money.
It's not, sometimes a lot of times it's about, people reckoning with the fact that they're getting old and they're not the core demographic of what, quote unquote mainstream. Now you're not even supposed to be listening to the station playing quote unquote blazing hip hop and R&B or whatever the taglines are. You're supposed to be listening to the adult AC station now where they're
I don't even think it's just older people that say that though.
I don't like to, once again, if you talk to somebody in 1995, they was hating on Biggie. They was hating on all the stuff that sounded like, oh man, them samples are too. They was hating on the music then. They was hating on the music in 2000. They're hating on the music in 2005. They're gonna hate when it's once it's no longer their music.
I'm with you, but I think it more prevails much more into the 2000s because when Biggie and them were getting played, people were happy, especially hip hop fans, to actually hear them getting play. You know what I'm saying? I think that more so happened. It took like a weird turn in like 2000, 2001, that era and on. it kind of was like, all right, let's start separating. So you got this sound, now you got the snap music sound. Oh, I don't like that because that's this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Or we got the D4Ls and
They had a wave.
and you know what I'm saying? Pretty much when ATL was all of them were getting on.
But
They
there's
all
always
had
been-
different styles, but a lot of people critiqued a lot of those because they figured it wasn't real hip hop.
But also,
Outkast encountered that too at the Source Awards.
But because a lot of
That's
times
true.
it
That's
got
the
to a
point.
point where like we don't do this here because everything was so
Right.
New York centric at one point. But also it's like there's always been that disposable, let's go ahead and grab this money now element of hip hop. Like
Every era has it.
there's
Every era has
there's that one song. Don't get me wrong. Like remember how at one point you couldn't get away from Freak Nasty to Dip. I don't know any other Freak Nasty songs.
I wasn't
And he's
mad
got a
at
whole
that,
album.
though.
Yeah, you would because you know what? That's your era. You remember when you was outside.
I remember going to get the single for
I wasn't mad at Freak Nasty.
but
Tag Team. Whoop, there it is. I went and copped the tape.
I was one of those people. I was like, I don't know why y'all like this. Woot, WHOOT
'Cause it was
is a
two
much better record.
It was two versions, right? It was the
Whoop, there it is, and Whoop,
and
there
then
it
Whoop,
is.
there it is.
90. Oh, am I saying it right?
95 South
95 South Boys, and who was the other one?
Tag Team.
Tag Team.
They're
Tag
back-
Team is the
back
one everyone
again.
knows.
See, Lone know.
Because
Jock Jams.
Because think about it. There's a lot of
Boom.
jock jams rap. There was songs and like that was the disposable snap music of its day.
Lone.
Hi.
Hello. Can you assess music and today's music and wherever you want to go underground, whatever? I know we talked about, more mainstream. Can you assess music fairly without being, I guess, old or being
Yes,
a hater?
I think you can. I understand what you're saying, Jay. I do, and to some degree, I think there's truth to that. But what I have pulled up here on the screen is something that I watch fairly. You guys can't see it, but there's a Vox video called "Why We Really, Really, Really Like Repetition in Music." And what I like about this video, I actually show my students, is sometimes I show it for a different reason, because a lot of times as creators, sometimes we have this instilled idea that if it repeats, it's not as good as something that is changing all the time. But musically is inherently repetitious. And as humans, we are biologically, we enjoy that. But this chart that I'm looking at right now talks about popular music repetition by year, and we can literally see this. You guys can see
It's trending up or whatever it is.
The more, the second line here is all songs, and then it's like how much repetition in music is creation now is happening, and we can see the music has always been repetitious. And we've known this about popular music for a very long time. Jay, you were in radio, so you know this all too well. And we all heard the rumors about how they used to make music for like 7 and 8 year olds to be able to repeat and remember stuff, right?
Right.
I don't know how true that is. I'm guessing that is true, but I don't know where that came from. But my point of saying all this is that repetition in music has gone up quite a bit. And when repetition goes up, it has this illusion of being kind of simple, dumbed down, which it kind of is. I mean, let's just be real. I mean, if you're saying the same thing over and over and over again, that is super simple. It's just kind of what it is.
Right.
It doesn't mean though that it's necessarily bad or not. It just kind of depends on what you like and what you kind of listen for. So I think the whole statement in general is just it just depends on who you're talking to. That's realistically. Fair. But I think that we could definitely make an argument that music has become more repetitious and popular songs have become more repetitious. It's
the most popular genre out there. So.
And if you view repetition and a lot of repetition in some manner as,
quote unquote, being dumbed
down, then you can make the argument that yes, it is. And there is data that backs that up. So that would be my argument to it.
I mean, I ain't about to sit. Yeah, I can dig that. But I'm not about to sit there in front and say I was wanting to listen to Poor Righteous Teachers all day versus NWA.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
That's fair.
And people could say, well, that's dumbed down. No, not really.
There's styles of music for all different types of moods. That's the inherent purpose of music.
Yep. It's kind of like the example I made the other week about Master P and Jay-Z.
Right.
It's all of the delivery. It's like, well, if he's not saying it like this, then that's dumb.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Whereas
that's
how somebody else relates to it versus how you want to kind of relate to it at a more, so to speak, stimulating
Or it's like based around the type of production that you enjoy, right? If you like these southern type of beats from that area, maybe you like a little bit of bounce influence in your, even though No Limit didn't really have a lot of bounce influence.
Cash Money did.
Cash Money did,
Definitely.
but No Limit didn't really have a lot. But let's say you really like that style of music as opposed to this classical boom bap style, then you're and vice versa, and vice versa. You know,
I mean, that's when Terry made that point. It was a while back, but it shows you how easy your music snob can creep in, like as it relates to how you look at things. Because the two examples that he used, both of them said the same thing. Mm-hmm. But music is so subjective. It's like, my palate, I want to hear it over Primo versus Beats by the Pound.
And people,
you see what I'm saying?
And if you have this argument and it's about New York, you're going to have the 47 to 55-year-old purists that come out from New York that say, well, you know, it's just, it originated here and it's always going to be better here. And, you know, they're digging through samples and they're fine. There's so much hidden meaning. It's like, okay, bro, cool.
And sometimes it's time and place, man. Like as much as like, you know, before I turned 21 and I was sitting up, you know, listening to, you know, my little underground tapes and, you know, because I would sit in with a couple of my buddies who had a hip hop show on the college station I worked at. Shout out to everybody who ever worked at or enjoyed WIDB in Carbondale, Illinois. And I that was the music I was drawn to. But once I got, you know, turned 21 and I wanted to be around, you know, the pretty girls who was drinking the nice drinks, you know, I'm sorry. I had it like, I turned 21 in 1998, like right when it was the bling era, if you will. You know, we were coming into that, not the bling era. That would be the shiny suit era. I guess.
This 98.
So, you know, we coming off of, you know,
DMX.
You know, we're coming off of No Way Out. We're coming off of Mace Double Up. And, you know, we didn't get to DMX until, you know, that really got popping in late 98, 99. But I'm telling you, like, if you wanted to dance with the pretty girls in the nice dresses, you better get used to hearing some of those songs. Now, when I would go to the little underground spot, you know,
you was a bully in them spots,
at the Duck Room, you know, when I was at the in the U City Loop, you know, shout out to my man, formerly DJ Needles, you know, that's who he was at the time, James Biko now, you know, and when it would be that spot and the girls who were there wanted to hear that music, then it was, you know, time and place, man. I'm just saying time and place.
Right.
Because sometimes that repetitive music, that's what makes the pretty girls do pretty girl
dance
things.
Music. I mean, think of like the Percolator, man. People dance to the Percolator.
People act like that's brand new.
It's time for the Percolator.
Every time.
It's like, I mean,
that's it.
You know what I mean? But
it works.
It's footwork. I mean, people like it and it switches up a little bit,
and,
you know.
And sometimes
music.
it's just where, look, I remember the first time I heard the Percolator, I was like, you mean, you're kidding.
No,
because,
for sure.
Because we didn't do that in St. Louis.
When I heard it, when I was in Chicago and I heard it.
Oh no,
we used to play that at school dances in high school here.
But then I was around some pretty girls from the south side of Chicago and I heard it. I was like, oh, this ain't that bad.
Well, you ain't seen it till you see it at a spot in Chicago, boy. It's different. That footwork come out. It's different.
Nah, Cats here was hip to that. They would do the same dance and everything when I was in high school.
To Terry's point, I saw it and I heard it, but when I moved there, man, it was completely different.
No, it's
completely different.
The first college party I went to, because like I said, everybody I went to school with is from the west side or south side of Chicago. So I remember, I'm like, when y'all gonna play some Snoop or some Dre? When you gonna play some big? Like, what is this? I mean, like, because, you know, when I'm thinking dance music, I'm not thinking the people who look like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was
and gangsters on the floor doing footwork.
No, I mean, because that was the crazy thing. It was like, you know, the warehouse where, you know, quote unquote house music, like, it's basically a gay club.
Yeah,
you know, but the most gangster of the gangster would be in there getting loose. So I mean, that was a culture shock. Even though St. Louis and Chicago aren't that far away from each other, huge culture shock.
Yeah, I remember for the longest time I didn't realize that like techno was like a black music genre. I thought it was a white music genre.
That kind of originated in Chicago.
Well, it originated in Detroit.
Well, Detroit, but
then
there's a lot of
and then it changed.
DJs that popularized the house scene in Chicago.
There's a difference between
house and techno.
Techno and house, right? So it's ghetto tech, and then they adapted it from. This is another thing. Randomly, got two shots out to the Detroit Red Bull thing I did. I
Yes.
learned all that there,
Mhm.
and I had no idea.
Yeah.
I was just like, "What?" I thought this was just white people dancing around.
But it was sold. Well, not sold, but that's what I heard. That's what I had always heard.
Mhm.
I automatically thought, okay, that's just what I used to call techno music or glow stick music.
Right.
That's what I thought. I'm like,
Right.
that's just the
music.
white crazy parties
Yeah, the
and
white-
everybody jumping around and
Raves.
spilling beer.
The stuff at raves, so where
Yeah,
white
raves.
people do a lot of drugs at. And
Bro,
I
I-
don't want no parts of that.
I thought that's what it was until, you know what I'm saying, I started meeting people
That's
from
conditioning,
Detroit.
man.
It is. It is.
It is. They had my mind. Long as get out. Like they had my mind. But when I started talking to people from Chicago and from Detroit, and they're like, nah. There's 12 more layers that you missing.
And the
this
thing
same
is, when I hear it, I was like, okay. I'm sorry. Like the Detroit
I
jit
can't get
music.
jiggy
I
to
remember
this.
one time I was like, man, if you don't turn this off, but like I was like,
I'm still like the biggest house fan.
no,
like
I
that.
made the CD. I made a CD for
I like
somebody's
house.
wedding, and I was like,
There's
All
different.
right.
I like some
There's different
house.
types
There's
of house.
there's
though.
different styles. Like I like the house music that's super vibey, man. It's got like a lot of chords into it and stuff like that.
where you can
And-
tell it's got a little bit of influence from disco, but it's taking
sure.
it to the next level. But some of the stuff they call house music that y'all playing is not house
The
music.
one that I can't grasp or get my hands on is the one that Shaq DJs. The
Techno,
is it
he does.
EDM? Does he
EDM,
do
techno.
It's probably like dubstep type stuff, EDM or something. I don't know,
It's-
man.
it's-
that was not a.
It's like-
I hated that time when I was working
like
in
it's
clubs and the EDM
huge.
took over. I was like, ugh.
I can't stand
I'd have to
it.
play it.
It's cocaine music.
That's what
You
Shaq
gotta
be
be
DJing.
high.
That.
I was
That's
listening. To
it.
this, I said this sounded like PlayStation 1 music,
I can't stand it.
like from the game
And the people,
Wipeout.
the people are holding on to the rails. Like
I
just
can't
going
stand
with
it.
the
I
beat.
remember being in Vegas,
Bro.
and the only after hours club was one of those. And I remember walking in like, I cannot do this.
It's so loud.
I was there
man.
for like 5 minutes and walked right out.
I don't do the kind of drugs that would make me enjoy this music.
Bro, it's
Not
too
at all.
loud in there. First of all, to Lone's point, I can't hear anything that's going
Loud
on.
and annoying, and I hate to just crap on somebody's preferred music, but I can't do it, man.
I apologize, y'all, but it's.
I mean,
But I knew dubstep
back
was
in a-
over when they did it. There was,
Dubstep.
yeah, EDM, dubstep, whatever. I just knew that was over when there was this game called Saints Row, and
I remember
there was a
Saints Row.
there was a dubstep gun
Oh,
that would
hell.
make the noises when you would shoot people. Yeah, I was like, yeah, this is about to be over.
Nah, I'm cool.
That's
I'm cool.
bad.
To each his own now, y'all.
I
Cause Shaq be DJing, for the place be having like 20, 15,000
He was
people
just
in there.
here
It was
doing it.
crazy.
Yeah,
oh, for real.
doing foam parties.
I mean,
Yeah.
There we go.
back in the day when we were doing some Hinks Jones stuff and performing, I did some I played at Motor Stock once, and it's an electronic music festival.
You did a set?
Yeah, I did. Me and Clarence.
A Hinks Jones set.
But we mixed it with like heavy guns, so like Gray and shouts to Gray and Freddie Buns and Brookins was there, Oreo was there.
Where was I at?
Not
I
here.
wasn't even here. Okay.
No, you weren't
Probably
even
in
here.
DC.
Okay.
Yeah, this was. But yeah, I mean, I played a handful of shows like that. It's just different. I would say the crowd is
crowds
typically
are
open
lit.
to whatever,
Yeah.
which is
They
cool.
lit too. The crowds at
Man, you
those shows
gotta
are lit.
realize if that's where your musical taste lays
Yeah.
or lies, you're probably going to be into a whole lot of different stuff.
That's true. That is one. You know what? I will give it to those audiences. They are willing to go on a ride with you.
Yeah.
Them
you
kids
know.
be out there having fun.
Yeah, so
Like, it's crazy.
It's not a whole bunch of people with putting their phone in your face like, "Hey, when you gonna play some Megan?"
Or that new Bad Bunny.
Yeah,
And that's the. Hey, why
You
you
sound like Fonzie Bear.
yeah.
Lone said. Nah, man, those crowds are ridiculous. Them kids be out there having a good time. So I ain't mad at them, man. Enjoy. And I
They
don't
can
see
go
this.
slam
I don't
dance
see phones.
all they want, as long as I'm not in the vicinity.
Yeah, I need to be. What you say? We getting to the age now where
I need a
do
seat.
they have a suite? They got places
Yeah.
where old
I need
folks
to
can
be able to
sit.
sit down somewhere
Yeah.
in a suite or,
You can sit
off
at,
to the side.